Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. I've started going through a bunch of my rods that I used this year, looking for any potential defects that may create issues for me. Additionally, I have a handful of rods that I had ceramic inserts that fell out, or the tips needed to be replaced, or I had a guide that may have been broken off that I need to replace. So I'm going through all that, trying to get all the repair work done and out of the way just to make sure I have all these rods in good condition for next year. So I wanted to show you one of the issues that as an angler we run into quite a bit, and that is a broken guide. So you can see it actually broke off at the foot. There's just a little bit of the foot still hanging off or hanging on inside of the thread work. So what I wanted to do is show you how to repair this. It's a very, very simple fix. It's a few minutes worth of work, and it'll get this rod back in perfect working order. So I'm going to set this all up, get it ready to go, and kind of walk you through all the steps. Before I do get into that, though, I just want to remind you guys, if you're looking for more content from me, check out my members only page. You can go to my YouTube homepage, click the join button, find out everything that you need about my members only page. So let's talk a little bit about this broken foot. This happened to be the casualty of a misstep, meaning I actually stepped on it, folded the guide way in, I bent it back into position. When I did that, it actually ended up breaking off right where the guide meets the foot. And from that standpoint, I need to replace it. It's got a sharp edge that's sticking out, so definitely don't want to leave that in there. And we want to repair this the right way. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just take a box cutter and use the edge of the blade, and I'm actually going to run it right down the guide of the foot. So I know that that foot is in there, and that foot is made out of metal. So I'm going to use that to protect me from hitting the blank. So I'm literally just going to slowly rub it right up that foot. And all I'm doing in this case is trying to get down to the thread work where I can actually cut the thread work off. So it doesn't take long. That was just a handful of runs up it. And I'm going to see if I can pop it out. So there's still a little bit more right there. All right, so you can see I can actually fold that foot up. You can see, so now I'm just going to pop that out, try to get it out. If you need to use some pliers, you can do that. The point here is we're just getting that out because that's not going to be usable any longer. So I just pulled it out. We'll get rid of that. Now at this point, what I need to do is remove the thread work. But the cool thing is you can generally just reach down in there, grab the threads that you just cut through, and literally peel off all of the rest of the threads. So that came off in one chunk. Can you see that? That's the epoxy with the thread. So from that standpoint, I've just removed basically everything that I need to remove to free up that area. So now I'll go back and kind of just make sure I've got everything removed. But the one thing that I kind of like about this is after you've pulled it out, you know, there may be a little bit of remaining epoxy, but regardless of what's there, you can see exactly the location of where you need to put the new guide. So I got just a little bit more thread that I'm pulling off. I thought I had gotten it all, but I missed a little bit. So I'm pulling off the rest of that. You can see the epoxy comes right off with it. So it is a very straightforward, simple process to remove it, which for me at least was always the part that I actually thought was the more intimidating part. Like, how do you get it off? So now I've got it off. I will take an alcohol swab. Let me get one out. Probably should have had all this ready to go for the video, but it's such an easy process that it really is just a sit down and repair type thing. So I'll take an alcohol swab and just kind of clean the area just a little bit, get any of the residue that might be there, and just clean that area off. So you can see I've cleaned it off good. now I'm going to grab a guide, a replacement guide, and then we'll get the threading that back into position. So I've got here my replacement guide, just a size 5. It's the exact same size I used to build the rod. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and attach it. And what I like to do is I like to hold the guide with some tweezers. And then what I'll do is I'll actually warm the foot of it just with a lighter. And then I have a glue stick that I just use a little bit of glue on. And at this point, I'm going to just put the guide back into position. And that little bit of glue is just going to hold it exactly where I want it. So in this case, I'm just lining it up right now to make sure it's in line with some of the other guides, and it looks very, very good. So now we can go ahead and do the thread work. So the thread work is easy. I know it's one of those things that a lot of people are a little bit intimidated by, and in this case, it's black thread on a black blank with black guide. So it's going to be a little bit hard to see, but all I need to do is wrap it once around the blank, and then I'm going to wrap, the way I do this is I wrap the thread one time away from the guide, and then I wrap it 3 times over the guide itself. And this is with my tag end. Once I've done that, I can start to spin my blank and actually put the thread on. And what that's doing is it's basically locking in my thread and keeping it from slipping. At the same time, it's also removing the coils that the 3 coils that I did when I went around the blank, or around the guide. So right there, I've rewrapped over the tag end, so I can actually cut that off now, because we don't want a whole bunch of tag. So I've done that there. You can cut it off a little closer if you want. In this case, it really doesn't matter that much. And I'm just going to continue to thread over the guide and that tag end. And I'm going to go about probably 2/3 of the way up to about there. And then I've got a pull through. This is just one that I made, and a pull through is literally just it's a loop. And this was just one I made out of some braid. But you're just going to tuck this under your thread, and then you're going to continue to wrap over it until you get to about the point where your foot of your guide pulls away from your rod blank. Right, one more wrap. Okay, so right there. So hence the name, the pull through. I like to open that up. I'll put my finger on top of the rod, or the guide where my wrapping was, and I'm going to loosen my thread, cut my thread off of the spool, and then I like to take just a pair of tweezers. I go through my pull through, grab my tag end, pull it through, and then I grab the tag end with my hand, and I pull the pull through to the point where it wants to pull back under my thread, just like that. So I can let go of my tag end now, but the pull through is holding it in place. So now you take your tag end and you want to cut it off right at the pull through, just like that. Now we got to get the pull through all the way through, and when I pull the pull through, what it's going to do is it's going to pull my tag end under those threads, and that's going to be what keeps it in place. So I'm going to apply pressure with my finger on top of my wraps, and that keeps all the thread in the same position. Grab my pull through, give a quick little pull, and my tag end, you guys probably can't see that, but it's probably a 1/16 of an inch under those threads, and that thread work is done. Now I do like to take my a flame and just go real quick over my threads, just to melt off any potential minor little thread pieces that are there. Because when we go to glue this and use the epoxy, if you have any piece of thread there, it'll actually, you could get little bump ups in the epoxy work. So let's get the epoxy prepared. All right, so the epoxy is just a 2-part epoxy. comes with syringes for exact measurements. You want to make sure your measurements are spot on with this. If they are not, you could end up either potentially with epoxy that never hardens. It just stays tacky. So you want to use the exact measurements. In this case, I'm only doing one guide. So I'm just going to take, I don't know, I'll probably do about a half of a milliliter because I don't necessarily want to waste too much. And I just put it into a little mixing container of each. So this is the hardener, right at a half. Then we just take a rod stirrer, and I'll spend a little bit extra time stirring this just because it is such a small amount, and I'm trying not to get it all over the cup. I'm actually just trying to use it, keep it right in the little corner where I poured it, because if I spread it out too much, you actually could throw the measurements off if you have too much of the hardener or too much of the resin portion that, say, gets stuck on the side of the cup. It's just one of those things you just want to make sure you get it mixed thoroughly. All right, now that we've got our epoxy mixed, it's just simply putting the rod in the rod turner, turning it on, applying just enough epoxy to cover the thread work, lock it into place. Just a simple repair. Took us a matter of minutes. And I realize you got to have some of the different pieces of equipment, whether that's the rod turner, or maybe it's the threading tools. But really, it's one of those things, if you do have them, you're going to use this stuff for life. You can keep it forever. I mean, it's such a simple repair work. It's also one of those things, if you're looking to generate a little bit of money over the winter months, you probably can find some people in your area that want to have some rod work done. And just simple fix, just like that. Now I'll take my heat again, and I'll apply the heat off to the side, so I don't go directly under. I go off to the side, and all this is doing is smoothing it out for me, and it's taking out any potential air bubbles that may be in the epoxy. Just giving it that nice sheen that we like. And I'll let this dry now I'll let it dry overnight. I like to give it 24 hours. And at that point, you can see that we've got a perfectly repaired rod that is ready to go, and I can move on to the next one. So hopefully you guys found this repair video helpful. It's so easy. It really is so easy. It's something that I think a lot of people are intimidated by, and the reality is you just don't know how to do it. And hopefully it's videos like this that kind of show you how easy it is, so that you can go do it on your own, save a few bucks, and make a unusable fishing rod back into good working order. So thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned, we'll have a new video coming out tomorrow.